Hello, everyone. Now for video two today, and I got another interview with my friend Helen here, and she is going to talk to us about coronavirus today. Uh, Helen lives in Shanghai, although currently you're in Bangkok right now, right?
Yeah, I used
Okay.
to live in Shanghai.
Okay, you're pretty excited about getting out, it seems. She's been in Bangkok for 2 weeks now because you had to be
Yes,
in 14 days in Bangkok
at least
before you.
14 days. Yeah, at least 14 days out of China before I can go to the United States.
Okay, and now you're gonna go to California of all the places for a
Right.
whole
Yep.
month, the Wild
Yes.
Wild West, and then you're going to Michigan.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So there's a
So,
lot of pandemonium. There's a lot of crazy confusion going on in America. I understand it. You can, if you can help me out with Chinese cultures, these kind of pandemics seem to happen all the time, and the Chinese
uh-huh.
culture seems to know how to handle it. Like for instance, let me give you an example. So if you live in Tennessee and you hear about hurricanes in Florida, you think,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, those poor people, how do they ever survive? But if you
Mm.
live in Florida, hurricanes are just a part of life,
Mm-hmm.
and the people are nervous about it. I grew up in California. Earthquakes were a way of life. Forest fires were a
Mm-hmm.
way of life. I didn't think anything of it. You just knew what to do when you had the case, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
inconvenience, but life went on. Did you
Yeah.
do you find the same case with China?
Um, I mean, like for coronavirus, probably it's still like a big deal as far as I know. Like, nothing was like this before. Even the SARS, I remembered I was in college when the SARS outbreak happened, and like our college was like a locking down, but you can still go out. So there is some inconvenience in life, but not like as big of a deal as the coronavirus. So I
Okay.
think, yeah, so maybe like a coronavirus is still something unique, I would call it in China. So, but I think because of the culture, so Chinese people were more obedient. So we listen to the government. We are so used to listening to the government. So like when the government told us stay at home, don't go out, wear masks, we just follow whatever they told us to do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think most people who watch my channel know that I'm an ESL teacher teaching Chinese kids, and I definitely see what you're saying very similar. And when I ask the kids if did you go outside today? And they stare at me like I'm insane. Like, why on
Mm-hmm.
earth would I ever go outside? I mean, have you not heard the coronavirus is going on?
Yeah.
And they're 8 years old, average 8 years old, my students, and
Mm-hmm.
they're cute. And but the problem is when you were in Shanghai, what happened in Shanghai was much different than what happened in Wuhan
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in some ways. And so my students in
Right.
Wuhan obviously would not go outside, but then I got students in, let's say, Guangzhou or Shenzhen, which is way
Mm-hmm.
south,
Yeah.
and some of them are going to the parks.
Mm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you actually posted videos on Facebook of you walking around the streets, and so clearly you were able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Actually, like I went out almost every day because I just cannot stay like in my apartment 24/7. It's gonna kill me. So I have
Yeah.
to take a walk outside. So I am able to go out. It's not like they don't allow you to go out. I think in Wuhan, probably it's more strict. The rules are more strict. You are not allowed to go out anyway. Maybe it's like one person of one household can go out to get food every 2 or 3 days. But like in Shanghai, it's not a case. You can go out, but like whenever you entered a store or you go back to your neighborhood, you have to check temperature, and you get a small like card proving, okay, I'm the resident of this neighborhood. So I show this card with my name on it and check the temperature, and they let you in. So
Okay. Yeah, I remember you sent me some pictures like that. There was like outside, like
yeah.
I think it was a drugstore, and like you couldn't get into the store without taking your temperature, right?
Right, like any store actually, any store, any restaurants, like everywhere.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then definitely that I don't see that ever happening in the United States. I think there would be civil unrest before that, and you would see people in the streets with guns. That's
Yeah.
kind of the point of the Second Amendment, is to make sure the government can't ever control its citizens, and so
Mm,
it's in the mindset, especially where I'm in Texas right now, and Texas wouldn't stand for that
mm,
kind of stuff. You're going to
mm,
California. California might be more subservient in a ways. They're
mm,
the political leaning is more left on that side of the country, and so it might
mm.
be the case. I definitely see my California friends on Facebook saying, "Oh, just follow what the CDC says," and they're like more
Yeah.
like, "Oh, let's follow instructions. People work together."
Right.
While you see like my Texas friends are kind of like, "This is a conspiracy theory. This doesn't exist," or
Uh,
"I'm going to live life the way I want to live," in some ways or not. And
yeah. Interesting.
um,
I
I
didn't know
told,
that difference actually. Sorry. I didn't know that difference. Because like most of my friends, they're in California. So like when I talk with them,
yeah,
they're some of them they're panicking. They're
yeah.
saying like some people say just like what you just said, like follow what CDC said and don't go out, wear masks, something like that. This. So for me, I feel like yeah, this is right, and I've already experienced this, so it sounds about right. And you just told me about like like different
Yeah.
states might be very different.
Yeah, I mean, we can bring a personality type in this too. I mean, you're an INTJ, I'm an ENTP. We're both pragmatic types, and we kind of don't. We see authority for what it is. If the system
Hmm.
makes sense, we'll follow it. I
Yeah.
haven't seen any evidence to suggest that I need to freak out here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And we talked about this beforehand. People are saying, "Well, it's unethical for you to go out there. You might get somebody else sick." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but they made a choice too. And
Hmm.
so we both made a choice to be out there and to take a chance of getting sick. And so, no, it's not unethical.
Right. Right.
And so it is what it is. And I accepted this 2 months ago when we've had
Yeah.
conversations. And
Right.
my Chinese students were kicked out of school. They're all at home 2 months ago. I made preparations 2 months ago. I didn't deal with this, empty shelves. And so I go to the grocery store now, and it's funny as hell to watch all these people screaming and running around. And I'm like, well, this has been going on for 2 months.
Hmm.
It's just like the world, there is no insular world. I mean, it's there's globalization here, and there's people regularly flying from China to the United States all the time. China is a huge business destination. America's a huge
Hmm.
business destination. There's
Yeah.
businessmen flying back, business people, sorry, women too. And we see, and so flying back and forth. And
Yeah.
as soon as I heard that India had coronavirus, and this was in January, it was like it's only a matter of
Right.
time it got here,
Uh-huh.
because India also is the same case. There's a ton of Indian immigrants in the United States, and they're flying back and forth from
Hmm.
Delhi to San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no such thing as hiding from disease at this point. And so to me, it's
Yeah.
just the government's gotta do something in the United States. And so a lot of people are upset
Hmm.
with what Trump said, but there's nothing he could do,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and getting tested, you can say there's benefits to being tested. And have you ever been tested?
No.
No. So you live literally in
No.
Shanghai, you never were tested one time. Okay.
No, I think like they didn't encourage everybody to get tested unless you have like symptoms. You go to hospitals, then probably they will test you. But I never got any symptom, and I never got tested.
Okay. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of people screaming about that in the United States, that like literally
Yeah.
everyone needs to be tested, and South
Yeah.
Korea
Exactly. I
is
saw that.
testing 20,000 people a day, and like
Right. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is going to solve all of our problems by taking this test that's 70% accurate. And
Yeah.
and then not only that is, and now we're learning that you can get it again.
Mhm. Yeah. That's
so
true.
and I don't know if you've read some of the articles. Maybe you can confirm if this is true or not. And then there was also the bird flu reemergence in
Uh huh.
China. Do you remember the bird flu? What did you guys call it there? It was the one coming
I
from
think the
chickens.
bird, yeah, I heard about that, but I think it was not a big deal that
Yeah,
time. You just cannot buy chickens like um in the market.
yeah,
That's it. I think it was not a big deal.
yeah. And so with this case, and like a lot of people are talking, a lot of Americans on my Facebook page are thinking the kids are going to be out of school for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
They're
Yeah.
absolutely delusional. And so my students got out of school around Christmas time, which does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Right around
It's
Christmas
about like I
time,
think
they got
starting from Wuhan, and
yeah,
then like in January because it is like a winter holiday, so
yeah.
they stayed
Just
at
keep
home anyway. Yeah, yeah,
extending. And
right.
we're 3 months coming to the end of March. And let me tell
Mhm.
you, as
Yeah.
a teacher with insider knowledge of China, I have no idea when my students are going back to school. I have absolutely no
No.
idea, and neither does the
No.
Chinese government. And so all
No.
most of my students are taking homeschooling now, which is
Right.
that's not normal
Online
for China,
classes.
correct? No one takes
No,
homeschooling.
that's not. And I don't know about other cities in China, but in Shanghai, the government like encouraged or not encouraged, but they kind of like released some regulations to ask students to take online classes. So I think they are prepared for like one semester, I think, like before the summer holiday.
Yeah. If do you think they'll get a summer holiday?
I I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, because when
Yeah, that's a good idea. Depends on the situation. If the situation is getting contained by summer, maybe they will like
a
start.
week or 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what this is what I'm getting at. I'm basing this off my prejudice of being American. And let's
Uh-huh.
give you an example. You live someplace up in Michigan where you're going to be going. The kids will get
Yeah.
snow days.
Huh.
Okay, so if you go over the snow days, there's too much snow and you miss too much school, it cuts into
Uh-huh.
their summer break.
Oh,
So
I
their
see.
summer break is shorter because they got to stay in school longer because they missed school because of snow.
Huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
Does China do
Yeah.
anything like that?
No. You have a
Okay.
schedule, you follow like the schedule, and that's it.
Okay, so the kids will still get a summer break in your opinion.
I'm not sure about like now because the coronavirus, this situation is really new and they never like had any online classes before. So this is the first time. So I think the government is also learning. Um, I have no idea if they will cut off the summer holiday or not.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And do
Yeah.
you know anybody personally that had coronavirus?
No, this is something that I tell people all the time. I feel like I don't know if I'm lucky or something. Like I'm in Shanghai, so all my
This is the
family
conspiracy theorists
members.
are going to go over this crazily. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. Because people are saying it doesn't exist and it's just government making stuff up. And then
No, it's
I'm
not.
talking to somebody from China who does not know a single person with Wuhan flu.
Yeah, and our company actually we have like a 20 to 30 employees in Wuhan, and we've never heard anybody got infected. So I mean, I think the virus is contagious for sure, but it's not like oh you will get it anyway. It's not that terrible. Or it's
Okay.
possible that because the government's like locked down Wuhan, so everybody stayed inside. That's maybe that's one of the reasons that they didn't get it. But who knows?
Well,
The
let's
fact
keep.
is, I like everybody that I know of, like including like some I don't know, like friends, like none of them got infected so far.
Okay. Because I have yet to meet a student as well
Uh huh.
who's, I mean, granted, I don't ask them out of, but no one's brought up, oh, my dad has the flu or
Uh,
my mom is sick. And most my students, and you probably can verify this, live with their grandparents. Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so most of the time they have grandma or grandpa. I think from the mother's side,
Yeah. That's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
and because when I bring, is your dad's mom there? Your dad's dad? And they're like, look at me like I'm
Hmm.
crazy, you know, like
Yeah.
why would they be here? They live over there, you know, and but so I have had students tell me like their grandpa died, but
Uh,
not because of coronavirus. You know, this is months
mm-hmm.
ago. This is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was in December, in all honesty, now that I'm thinking about it, it was early December, so it could have been coronavirus maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? Like
Because I
now,
know it
like
didn't
I
get out for
believe.
a month
Yeah.
or two. Um,
I know that there are many people. I don't know how many, but there must be some people that they died from the virus, but were not recorded it or reported.
yeah,
So
and that's interesting because there's also some other theories that the reason why China's numbers of decline is because they just stopped testing people, and then
yeah.
so it's like we're already shut down, and so would you think that could that be a possibility? It's just like
I don't know. Like now, I still check the news like every day. Like both China and outside of China, the cases. And now every day, China has like maybe 30, 50 cases, and most of them they're like imported cases. So I don't know if the situation is really under control or not. But at least for example, my company in Shanghai, they started to operate normally. Like before I left, we still worked from home all the time since February. Yeah,
yeah.
late February. Yeah. So before I left, they start to okay, everybody can come back to work, but just make sure that you still wear masks and also goggles in the office.
Goggles before,
Yes.
like for
Just
swimming.
this is I think the medical ones like you put like
Oh,
just to make sure that you don't touch your eyes, I think. And our company also has the policy that yeah, if you go to the customer side and if you need to take any public transportations, wear masks and goggles. So
okay,
of
okay.
course they provide those things from a company, but I think in the US fewer companies um, provide those things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about economics right now, but I'm hoping that
Mhm.
this will wake up some of our American government because all our manufacturing comes from China. And
Mm,
so now we
yeah,
have an epidemic now where China produces everything we need, but they can't ship it over here because they're sick.
yeah,
You know, and so now there's arguments right now about medication, for instance, because China produces the majority of USA's medication. And
hmm,
so now it's also kind of like now that China handled it first and they're kind of recovering, the rest of the world is kind of dependent on them. And so they kind of have all the cards in their hand,
yeah,
you know? So it's like, oh, you want some stuff? Okay, well, you better play ball.
yeah,
And so, I mean, when we're talking about business and government's just business, you know,
hmm,
and that's all it is. And
yeah,
so that's just kind of how it is. Well, now you need me, and so the price is going to go up, or whatever, you know, or this agreement's no
yeah,
longer valid, and things like that, which is just
yeah,
human nature. This is human behaviors, you know, and it doesn't
yeah.
matter if
This
you're
is very
Chinese or
interesting.
you're European. It doesn't matter. And
Yeah, I don't know if you know this like, kind of news. Like when China was in trouble a month ago, like Korea, Japan, and some countries, they send a lot of like a medical equipment and masks to China, and now
really,
those countries, yeah, and now those countries they are in trouble, and China are like sending them masks.
yeah,
So this is like yeah, we are like a payback. We know that when we were in trouble, you helped us, and now we are helping you because you are in trouble. This is
yeah,
very like affiliative way, I think,
yeah,
and
yeah,
um, and I think a month ago, like U.S. didn't send anything to China. This is what I learned from the news.
yeah.
So like now, there's no news about China supporting U.S. at all. So it's something that interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what USA would even send over because there's no manufacturing here, you know.
Mm.
I guess they can always, give money and things like that. I guess that would work, but I don't know. I mean, I think when it comes to, and this is proven because I have this behind me, is the empty shelves
Yeah.
and people freaking out
Yeah.
and frenzying. Did this
Yeah.
happen in China?
No.
No, I
At
didn't
least
think so.
not in Shanghai. I've never seen that. Whenever I go to the grocery store, like shelves are always like you can always find food. Sometimes like for fresh vegetables, there are fewer options, but it's not all gone. Like shelves never. I've never seen like empty shelves like that. Never.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
Well,
I
this.
sent you a video before, like a Chinese girl shoot a video
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the coffee. Yeah, like
I saw the
those coffee.
shelves.
Yeah, they're just like a pretty normal, like just fewer options, just that.
I heard that it was different in Wuhan, though. I've heard. I mean, but a lot of that is also rumors, and I don't know how accurate the media
Hmm.
outside of, I mean, of it was, because there definitely was some, I would call it censorship and not wanting certain
Hmm.
things to get
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Um, but I was told that um, people from Wuhan were not accepted in other parts of the country, and there definitely was some huge discrimination against them, and many of them weren't able
Hmm.
to stay in hotels because of where
Hmm.
their ID card said they were from.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
many people from Wuhan were sleeping in cars and in the street. I don't know how true that is, but I definitely read that.
yeah. I don't know either, but I believe these cases must exist. Like maybe not like a very like a not many cases. I don't know how many, but I believe these things did happen, especially at the beginning. And later, when the city was locked down, they cannot go out anyway. So, like,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely rumors now about United States about martial law and lockdown and things like that. And so many
hmm,
people are buying up toilet paper, A, because they're scared and they're in a panic,
hmm, hmm,
and so when people are afraid, they do stuff that doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Uh, and
yeah.
that's
And I
very.
read,
Oh, go
good,
ahead. I talk
yeah,
too much as it is.
I said I read an article talking about like why do people stock up like toilet papers?
Yeah.
Because the toilet papers they're huge, right? Like when you look at those stuff, it's like a safety blanket. You feel like you're safe with those big stuff.
Interesting.
That's I read an article about it. This is kind of like a from psychology perspective, psychological perspective to explain why do people stock toilet paper because it doesn't make any sense, right? It cannot you cannot like wrap yourself in toilet paper to prevent
Yeah.
the virus. So
Yeah. Well, we did a inventory count. We have 10 rolls. And so
hmm. Oh,
and
you
I
didn't stock? You didn't
well
stock up toilet paper
that's the
2 months ago?
ENTJ's job, and he didn't do it well enough. And he actually is kind of upset about that because it's more important to him than it is to me. Uh but I already told Chucky this in my other video, so I'm not gonna keep it PC. Because we went to the grocery stores, and every store told us that we have no idea when we're gonna get more.
Mm,
And so like I'm like, okay. And so I have this information given to me. I assessed the situation, and so I went on to Amazon. No toilet paper on
yeah,
Amazon, nothing on
no.
Vitacost, nothing on any of these websites. I'm like, okay, fine. So I made the best thing. I ordered a shower bidet. Okay. And it only cost me $34. So, if anybody's interested in this, it's really easy. It hooks right to your shower head, and you
Yeah.
just clean yourself off real quick, And it's like this is what every other culture does around the world. Not everyone has really good septic systems, so bidets make more sense than toilet paper itself. And
Yeah.
so it's not ideal, but I'm going to solve the solution. It should be here next week.
Mm,
But I honestly don't think it's going to last that long with the toilet paper shortage.
hmm.
When it comes to American entrepreneurship, when there's a demand, someone's going to supply it. And that's kind of how
Yeah.
the free market is supposed to work. Now, granted, the United States
Right.
is long away from what it used to be with free market. It's got more socialized, and that's a whole different issue.
Mm,
But Yeah, I mean, let me tell you more how idiotic people can be. Okay, and I can tell you
Uh-huh.
this because
Yeah.
I know you can handle it. But the,
Go ahead.
in the grocery store, there's a section that's all Chinese food.
Uh-huh.
It's nobody bought anything of it. What?
Yeah, I
So
have
you're an intuitive. Why is that the case?
because they'll get because the food was made by Chinese people and they'll get the virus by eating the food. Yeah,
The
I
grocery
heard
store
about it.
aisle and all the Chinese rice,
Yeah,
all the Chinese like udon noodles and all this different
yeah,
stuff, and even
yeah.
soy sauce, all this stuff that even has resembles anything Asian. It's all still on
Uh-huh.
the shelf, and no one's buying it because I mean they think it's gonna give them the coronavirus,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you've heard story about the Corona beer.
What story?
Corona beer. You ever heard of Corona
Yeah, I
beer?
know the beer. Yeah.
Well, people were in the
So,
very beginning thinking that gave them coronavirus.
oh, I didn't know that. I thought they just made fun of the name.
No,
They
the
literally.
stocks were going way down. No one was buying it. So obviously some people believed it because they were losing money. I mean, now, the stock market's really dropping. But yeah, we try to get back on some kind of serious topic about this. But and so yeah, the kids in China are still not back in school. And so
Mm-hmm.
any parents watching this, yeah, your kids aren't going to school anytime soon. And
Yeah.
so you need to prepare for that kind of stuff. I made videos about this um, a month ago. Go buy
Yeah.
beans, go buy rice,
Yeah.
buy quinoa, things that are non-perishable. You can't stock up on meat unless you have some freezer, but you could do that.
Yeah.
Now it's
Right.
too late. Now
Yeah.
you're just pretty much going to have to time yourself at the grocery store and take what you can get. But if
Yeah.
people would have listened to certain YouTubers 2 months ago, I'm not going to use myself because I only have like 400 followers, and so obviously no one cares. But there's people who are YouTubers that I watch, I'll leave them nameless, 400,000 followers. He told people, hey, you should probably get these kind of things. Most of the
Yeah.
people that listen to him, like myself,
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
my pantry's full. My refrigerator, I have food. I'm not anytime worried. Granted, when I go to the
Mm.
grocery store, all my organic and health food is already there anyways, because no one's eating it.
Mm.
People are buying soda pop. They're getting Fruit Loops and junk food. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you're afraid of a deadly virus coming that your immune
Yeah.
system is going to need to fight, and you're
That's
putting in
right.
your fuel container water essentially. You're filling up your car with like garbage gas. And so to
Yeah.
me, if there was ever a time to get on a clean, healthy, organic diet, now would be the time to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't help other people. And so if
Yeah.
you're really that worried, which I'm not, I'd be eating organic carrots all day with vitamin A in it. Just eating nonstop oranges, are you really that paranoid?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You need to increase your fruit and vegetable intake. You don't need fruit
Yeah.
pull-ups. Um, okay, and so you
Yeah.
never, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very funny. I mean, like in China, I've never heard anybody like stocking up food or toilet paper or other stuff. Like some people, they did panicking shopping, but not like this crazy. I'm not saying like people are like crazy, but I just feel like this is like I didn't expect the Americans react to the virus like this actually.
Yeah. I did mention that in my students, many of them would say, when I used to ask them what they ate for dinner, it would be like, oh, I ate fish, noodles, vegetables,
Hmm.
but that did kind of change to like noodles and meat,
Yeah,
and so you're mentioning fresh vegetables might not have been available. Um,
right.
and so that makes sense with me. And is it in the Chinese culture to eat canned vegetables?
No,
No. And
they
so,
consider it like not unhealthy, but less healthy.
oh, well, it is less healthy. I mean, that's a fact. I do
at,
hear some
at
weird
least,
stuff though, from my Chinese students, where like I can't eat
Like what?
watermelon no more because my mom says I'm fat. And I was like, watermelon doesn't make you fat. And so that's bizarre to me because watermelon's loaded with glutathione. It's great for you and liver and everything.
That has
So,
fruit sugar. Has fruit sugar probably.
but it's good sugar. But
Yeah, it is. The problem is the kids, if they stay inside, they don't exercise much, right? And they
well, my
just
kids are
eat
jump
like
roping and doing jumping jacks. All of their parents make them. I'm not joking.
yeah.
Like they're like doing jump rope,
Uh-huh.
and I ask them if they do stretches and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they might be lying to
yeah.
me. I don't know. I mean, you know how kids are. They always
But
want to. They say what you want to hear. But
yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
felt bad for him because even my teaching has gotten worse because it's like there's only so much I can ask because I know they've been stuck inside all day and they've been stuck inside for
Hmm.
2 months. I'm like, what did you do today?
Yeah.
I read a book, I
Yeah.
watched TV, I played. When most of them don't even have video games, which I would die
Mm.
because I'm like, well, teacher Matt's gonna go play video games. Bye,
Yeah.
and so. And
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be the teacher here, and I'm one playing video games. But go ahead.
I I think like for most Americans, because like usually on average, your house or apartment are like much bigger than a average Chinese apartment, I
Yeah,
think. So to me, I feel like okay, you have like all the spaces you can use, even if you are locked inside. If you are not allowed to go outside, you can still move around in your house, right?
yeah,
At least.
you're right. And like, let me give you an example of my students. Like I mentioned, most of them live with their grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Most kids are only children, most, but some
Hmm.
do have
Yeah.
brothers and sisters. I've noticed that the more wealthy students seem to have more siblings than others. Like
Yeah.
that's like okay for them. And
Yeah.
I've even met some of the um, higher class students that have even five, children in one
Wow.
house, and they live like this big giant mansion or something like that. And
Uh-huh.
but what am I getting at with this? So yeah, you mentioned the smaller places. Most people live in apartments in China.
Hmm.
I'm going to continue this. I'm going to connect it with disease transmission after I'm done with rambling.
Mm.
But so they're going to be in an apartment with grandma and grandpa.
Hmm.
Now, mom and dad, many of them have gone back to work at this point.
Yeah.
But for the most part, in the very beginning, the first month, mom and dad were home too. So you were
Right.
mentioning a motel, apartment, child, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, at least. So at least
Yeah.
5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, maybe 3-bedroom
Yeah.
apartment, right?
Uh-huh.
And so if they have a sibling, that's another person. That's 6 people in an apartment. You
Yeah.
can't go outside like you mentioned. And most people in America live
Right.
in a house. Most people in America have a yard. They can at least go in the
Yeah.
backyard at that.
Yeah.
No one's going to stop them from
Right.
going in the backyard. But let's talk about virus transmission in this case. And I'm going to bring in
Mm.
something some people might. We'll talk about cultural differences, and we talked about this beforehand. And so
Mm.
if people want to picture, you live in Shanghai, how many people are in the general area
In what?
in Shanghai?
In Shanghai, 30 million, I think.
30 million people. That is an
Mm-hmm.
amount of people that nobody in America can even comprehend unless they've been there. I've been to
Mm.
Mexico City, so I understand that size.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mexico City is about arguably 20 million to 27 million, depending on what census you're following, because
Mm.
people say 27 million, the government might say a little less.
Mm.
The largest city in the United States is New York City, which is nothing. That's a small city in China, correct?
I mean the city size, but if you talk about the population, yeah, it's
It's
like a
small,
second tier. Yeah, yeah,
because Beijing's similar to Shanghai. And
yeah.
so when you are a fully functioning Chinese city like Shanghai or Beijing, and you
Mm-hmm.
have a regular work day, and you're
Yeah.
commuting and you're working, you're walking, You're not
Yeah.
walking alone on the sidewalks. You got people rubbing your shoulders, you know, you're constantly touching, you're constantly around people, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's the cultural issue too, like we mentioned, was spitting isn't
Mhm.
necessarily rude in China, correct?
Mhm. It's still rude. I mean, like in Shanghai, probably fewer people do that than other parts of China.
Yeah.
I it's not discrimination, but it's the fact. Um,
Okay.
but people still do that in Shanghai.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
in America, for the most part, most people consider that rude. I mean, in certain
Right.
southern states where people chew tobacco, they might spit in the cup, and that's nasty.
Mhm.
But for the most part, people don't spit. And so people need to understand about why the disease would spread so much faster in China than versus America. In my
Mm.
argument, this is my argument. Just
Mhm.
I'm not a scientist, so I don't know for a fact. I can't give you data for this. But
Mhm.
you're talking 30 million people in a city, people walking shoulder to shoulder, people spit. Okay, so saliva has the virus on it, you know, and
Mhm.
so when you see, you know, an explosion, you know, you got to
Yeah.
look at the difference in the cultures and logistics of the situation. And so the situation
Right.
is there's a lot more people in China in a smaller
Mhm.
amount of area with cultural differences. Okay, in the
Mhm.
United States, most people live in houses, not apartments.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
most people commute to work. They don't necessarily live in high-rise apartments, you know. And so you'll see that different outbreaks, and you look at the Western United States is going to be hit the hardest. I said this months ago. Western
Mhm.
United States has more people. California has the most population interstate, you know.
Mhm.
But granted, it's still not as populated as China. Uh,
True.
and so,
And
and
most
most,
people they have their own car in the United States, so they
correct,
don't use public transportations.
correct. And so you have the BART system in the Bay Area Railroad Transit.
Yeah.
I'm from Napa. Anybody who doesn't know that, I don't live in California anymore, but I'm from Napa. And so yeah, no one uses public transportation. Americans have their own car. Americans live in
Mhm.
houses. Americans don't have apartments. And so
Mhm.
anybody, this is not like trying to calm people's ease. It should not spread as quickly and as widely as it did in China. Would you agree with
Mhm.
that analysis?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Even if you look at the number, I think like when did the outbreak start in the United States? Do you remember? 2, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, there was the release of somebody from Washington, I think was the first case, or was it Los
Yeah.
Angeles? You know, and yeah, Seattle, San Francisco, Los
Yes. Yeah.
Angeles,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are all very huge Chinese hubs too. There's gonna be a lot of Chinese people visiting back and forth, and so that
Yeah.
makes sense. And
So so when I
go on.
look at the pattern, like in China, because Wuhan was the like epidemic city, but like in Shanghai or other cities, we started to hear the increasing infection numbers in Shanghai. I think it was in early February,
Oh,
during
okay.
during the Chinese New Year. Actually, I remember um, like at the beginning of Chinese New Year when I went to my parents' place, I didn't wear masks. I was like, it was not a big deal, so I didn't wear masks. But like during the Chinese New Year, there were more and more cases reported, so people started to panic during that
Okay.
time. So
I'm-
I think,
oh,
yeah, sorry,
go
it
ahead.
was like from the beginning of February till end of February, like when I left, there were not many cases reported. So about a month. So I think if people start to pay attention to like keep distance and don't like just to protect yourself, then it's not a big deal in my opinion. I feel like it's not it is contagious, but it's not that scary.
Okay, well, I agree. I mean, um,
Yeah.
I don't live my life the way I do. I have videos about longevity. It's a vitamin company I used to kind of work with. And I spend a lot of money on supplementation and vitamins, nutrition. I eat organic, healthy food. I don't live this way to be afraid of germs. You know, and that's the whole point of me investing money into myself is I can go through life not getting sick, you know,
Right.
and meanwhile, the people who eat like garbage, you know, eating fruit roll-ups and soda and all this other stuff, they're sick all the time, and they don't want to get sick with something really bad because they're in their minds, I'm going to be ill for 2 weeks. I can't afford to do that. And so I get that. And so, but you know, for the most part, if I get sick, I haven't had the flu in forever. You know, last time I got flu was I was like 15, and that's when I got the flu shot. And so I told my mom I was not going to do that ever again. And it wasn't until about age 22 when I kind of realized that I can really control how I felt and how the world treated me based on how I ate. And at 22 years of age, I learned to, although I'm not vegetarian anymore, but I went vegetarian back then. That's usually a stepping stone to a healthy lifestyle. What was I getting at with this? I'm sorry. I was going to interrupt you about something.
Yeah, I was talking about beginning of February. The outbreak started.
Oh, yeah. Tell Americans how important Chinese New Year is to Chinese people.
Oh, that was just like Christmas.
Yeah, so it's just like
same
Christmas.
thing
And so many of my students did not have Chinese New Year. How devastating is that to a Chinese person?
I mean, it's like you're not allowed to visit your parents, spend your time with parents, and have some family time together. It's the same thing. It's like I remember, like I still went to my parents' place before it got like a bad in Shanghai. So I still had dinner with my parents, but after that, I didn't visit them, and I didn't meet any of my other relatives because of the outbreak. And all the restaurants, they were like they were shut down. They cannot take any reservations or something, so you cannot eat outside anyway. And the government didn't encourage any public gathering or family gathering. Just like stay at home. That's it. So it's like during the Christmas holiday, you just stay in your own place, house, and watch television. That's it.
Yeah, I got that from it. It was definitely very depressing. I mean, the kids were still kind of happy because they still got their little ong baos, their little envelope full of money. Am I saying that right? Ong bao?
Hong bao.
Hong bao?
Hong. Yeah. Red
Hong
packet.
Bao.
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, it is the translation is red packet because the packet is red.
Oh my God. Okay. I thought it was more clever than that. Wow.
No.
Red packet. Okay. I thought it was like something traditional, old, ancient Chinese name.
No.
So typically speaking, what the kids get money in it, right? And so I just more props for my children, my students. And okay, yeah. So many of them still got that, and so they're happy with that. And
I mean, and also because now the digital payment is very, very popular in China. Almost everybody use that. So like, if you wanna give somebody red packet, you can just send them like via phone, right? You don't need to give them real money. You can just send them. It is, but I mean, it serves the purpose, right? If you want to give them money, then okay, there you go.
Just transfer over to your card. Yeah, I don't know. That's the SI in me, coming out with, oh man, you're destroying the tradition. But yeah, so to tell Americans what this means, it's essentially if the United States was hit with a virus and they canceled Christmas across the country. Essentially, that's what it meant. No Christmas in the malls, no music, you would stay at home and you wouldn't be able to travel, and Christmas is canceled, besides simple gift giving, and you can be with your immediate family only. And so it was pretty big deal. I remember many kids saying, no, this was not that fun of a Chinese New Year. They didn't like it that much. And so that's usually not the case. I've been doing it for 3 years. So there definitely was a difference in that opinion.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're coming to California. California is kind of on lockdown right now. I
Mhm.
know
The
San
Bay
Francisco.
Area.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of worried about for you because you're gonna live in a hotel for a month with no
Mhm.
ability to cook
Yeah.
for yourself. And
No. Yeah.
I hope the restaurants stay open or certain restaurants. I mean, I know I can still eat out. I showed you my restaurant I go to, Pow's or whatever, and
Yeah. Is that Chinese restaurant, right?
yeah, it's a Chinese restaurant, and they're
Because it's Chinese.
well, yeah, but I'm not an idiot, so it's just like I'm like. Uh, but I mean, the same Chinese people who work there, I see them every week, and so I know they're not in
Uh-huh.
China getting Wuhan flu anyways, if they wanted to. And uh, no, it's just they're just people. At this point, they're Americans to me, so whatever. But they live here.
Yeah.
They're one of us, and so it's just
Mhm.
like, granted, they still speak Mandarin, sure, but I don't think of them like that. And I know,
Yeah.
and they did thank us. Oh, you're not afraid of Chinese food? I'm like, no. It's talking to me in the
Why would I?
ENTJ, I'm like, no, I mean, we're here to get
Uh-huh.
like, some chop suey and stuff. And so it's just like, Mugu Gai Pan. What does Mugu Gai Pan mean?
Google guy. What is
Mugu
that?
Gai Pan. I think it's a white
I don't
sauce
know.
with mushrooms. I think it is what it means. White sauce with mushrooms or something. I don't know.
No. You must said it wrong.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
Or
Now,
that's something that is like a fusion, not really like a Chinese dishes.
okay. Yeah, I
I don't
know
know.
that Chinese food over here is not Chinese food.
Hmm.
It's
Because I don't eat Chinese food in the United States, so there are some dishes that I don't know.
yeah. I mean, what I like about Chinese food in the United States is that if no matter what, I can always get steamed vegetables and steamed rice.
Mm,
And so
yeah.
I have a
Right.
safe option regardless. And so if I'm someplace where I know I can't get any healthy food whatsoever, I know I can find a Chinese restaurant and I can get steamed vegetables and steamed rice
Yeah.
and be safe with that. And so that's something I always
Hmm.
appreciate about the culture is steamed food and things like that. So what else do we need to cover? So we got a difference in cultures. People should ease. It shouldn't be as bad here. Well, this is
Yeah.
a different problem that we have that you guys do not have. I can see that
Hmm.
being the case when you're saying only one person is allowed to leave every 3 days. That would definitely make it much easier to restock the shelves
Yeah. Right.
versus someone coming out and things like that. You
Oh,
mentioned
and
about.
sorry, I just want to add to that because, we talk about most Americans, you have cars, right? You have your own car, but in China, it's still not like everybody has a car, right? Most people don't have a car. So, think about it. If you have a car, you can buy a lot more stuff, right? You can put
Yeah.
them in a
So
car,
when you're going to
right?
grocery shop, you got to walk and carry it home.
Right, yeah. So that's why you cannot carry too many stuff back home. So
All
yeah,
right.
that
So that
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 might
makes
also
sense.
be the difference.
And that makes sense why I brought up this in the group about it was the father that left the home to go get food
Um,
for their children and their wives and essentially and I said I made a snide remark because there's men are under attack on the planet. It must be that toxic masculinity, for him to sacrifice his own well-being for his family, because that's typically how a
yeah,
father is going to react is, no, my wife's
yeah,
not going, my children not going, I'm going. That's
yeah,
typically, a masculine mindset in that sense was,
right. I think
you
that
know,
this is like across the world, like every country would be like this. This is the like typical man, what a husband, what the head of the household should do. It's your
yeah.
duty,
It's your
right?
duty to die. And, and so, and men have been doing that for a long time, even when you were bringing war
Yeah.
into the equation. It was always about, trying to defend people you love against, invaders. And so that was it's just something like I brought up. It was kind of funny to me. In all my students' cases, no, only dad's allowed to leave the house, or they had food delivery systems.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think you'll be okay in California because they have a lot more of that. But there is some benefits of living in California. It's a little more international in that sense, and a lot of people have delivery. I guess I could do that here in Austin, Texas, but I don't see why. I mean, everyone has a car, like you mentioned. And so you're not dealing with millions of people on the subway system spreading the disease. You'll see maybe that issue in New York City where people use public transportation. Chicago, you got Seattle, you got San Francisco and Los Angeles. All 5 of those cities have public transportation, and you can see why the spread there more. And so I'm hoping this stays the same. I'm hoping this does not become a federal issue, but the media is kind of pushing it to go that route, and they kind of want to get the White House in charge of everything. For some reason, they want monarchy. I don't know why, but it should be a state's issue. My political opinion was California should handle it in a California way. New York should handle it in a New York way. And Illinois should handle it in an Illinois way. And because each state is so much different, and there are different dynamics of how people live, what they have available, and what's going on like that. And that's what I've always been kind of against a centralized government, in my own personal opinion, because the water restrictions in California make sense in California, but they don't make sense in Tennessee. Tennessee has lots of water, there's no issues with water there. And so the same thing will be there. So I'm hoping when you get here tomorrow, so I hope you have a safe flight in that sense.
Thank you.
Are you landing in San Francisco?
Yeah. And this is the only airport that is close to Milpitas, where I'm gonna stay for a month.
I'm aware of Milpitas, but I'm trying to think if I ever been there before. I know it's South Bay, and I'm from Napa,
which is next to San Jose.
Yeah. Okay. I probably drove through it on the way to like the Great America or whatever.
Yeah, it's small. Yeah. Yes. Right.
Have you been to that theme park?
No.
Oh, okay. I used to go there all the time. Okay. I loved Great America. I used to go there all the time when I was a boy.
And I will transfer in Japan because there's no direct flight from Bangkok to San Francisco. So I have to transfer in Japan. From
Tokyo?
Yeah, Tokyo.
Will you have issues with having, I know we're getting way sidetracked and we're going to finish this off now because it makes the video not too long, but do you think you'll have issues when you land in Japan, have to go through their visa process, probably check your temperature?
I don't know. This is something that I was trying to figure it out in the last 2 weeks, actually. Like I called the Japanese embassy in Bangkok, called the airline, but like no one can give you a certain answer. They'll say it should be fine, but
But we are an airport.
Okay. Huh?
We are an airport, exactly. And so airports, we can't be helpful. We got to make everything difficult as possible. Okay, so let's just go through the rundown on the outline. Okay, difference in culture, difference in amount of people, food issues won't be the same.
Transmission.
Now, let's do one more thing in culture. And when Chinese people get sick, do they run to the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the first thing you do?
Usually you take medicine at home. If it is just like a cold or just a fever,
okay,
you just take medicines at home first. And if it's still you're not getting better, then you probably go to see the doctor.
Okay. Because I know, although they are children, but all my students don't like doctors. And I mean, I grew up ill all the time. So I lived at the hospital in the doctor's office. I loved my doctor. His name was Dr. Monteverdi. And it was just regular life for me. It didn't bother me one bit, and so I was just like, I was always there, I mean, I think my Kaiser number was like 6570006, you know, so I had that all memorized. And so it's just like, I just heard it on a regular basis, you know, and so, uh, I mean, I didn't miss it, but my students were like, "Ah, I hate the doctor." I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. One other factor, let me listen to your intuitive mind on this case, is also, although you live in Shanghai, so the diet's different than what in Wuhan is, right? Correct?
Yeah, it's different. It's
Okay,
different.
so what does a typical person in Wuhan eat? Do you know?
Like I know that they eat noodles, like spicy noodles in the morning for
Okay.
breakfast. They call it like 热干面, like a hot dry noodle. This is something that they eat for breakfast. And I heard that some people that eat like a wild animals, but I don't think it's like a regular diet for people. They just, it's an option, right?
Yeah.
But they don't like eat it every day or every meal.
Okay.
No.
No,
Yeah.
that's not what
So
I'm getting at. I wasn't even getting at the bat soup or the what was the other animal? It looks like a
the
little
rat.
armadillo. Yeah.
I don't know about
I
that,
can't remember
but
the
I heard that
name.
some,
Pangolin.
yeah,
Pangolin.
pangolin. Oh, I don't. I've never seen that, but I
Yeah.
heard from some of my colleagues. They said, yeah, we ate that, but
Oh, okay.
most I yeah. So it's like it's an option, but it's not like a daily diet.
Yeah. No,
I
what
think
I was
most of China, like the daily diet is still like a rice, noodle, meat, vegetables, like that.
okay. How much junk food do kids eat in China?
Wow, I would say like in Shanghai, Beijing, or those developed cities, more developed cities, like because you have more options of junk food. So people, especially kids, they eat more. But it depends on household, I think. If
Yeah.
you have grandparents at home cooking, then probably you won't eat that much junk food. But
Yeah.
if your parents are working all the time and you are taken care of by a nanny, then yeah.
Snacks and things like that. I mean, I see
Yeah,
kids drinking soda, and most people like Coca-Cola, but the way they speak, it makes it sound like it's a treat.
yeah,
You know,
it is a
like it's a
treat.
treat. You don't eat it on a regular
Yeah,
basis. Well, in America, you know, I'm sure you've noticed they're all fat, you know, and
mm-hmm.
so Americans are fat because they're eating Doritos on a regular basis, they're eating McDonald's on
Yeah,
a regular basis, uh,
right.
Taco Bell, soda pop, you know, candies and things like that.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
if there is going to be one thing I will think per percentage, I think more Americans will die per capita just due to the fact of what they eat. And so
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I do have some fat students, but they're
Mm-hmm.
rare. Now
Mm.
you go to a public school in America, there's fat kids all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just normal. You know, there's like, oh, he's just chubby, you know, and everyone laughs about this kid having obesity and his parents are literally giving him type 2 diabetes and everything seems
Yeah,
funny. You
yeah.
know, and it's so funny. He's gonna be a metformin the rest of his life. But sorry, I get a little health rants. And so to me, I think of Chinese diet, I think of rice, I think of vegetables, I think of meat, water,
Right. Yeah.
tea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
have any issues with any of those food ingredients.
Mm.
You know, I got no qualms with any of that. That's all fine. You know, I eat that on a
Mm-hmm.
regular basis, you know, and I know
Yeah.
the kids do eat McDonald's
Yeah.
but it's rare.
It's like a treat, as you said, for
Yeah.
Coke something. Yeah. It's like because it's considerably expensive in China, like for McDonald's, because like you just use the price of like one set of McDonald's meal multiplied by 7, then it's the price in China, or even more expensive.
Yeah. I noticed that
So
too when I was in Europe.
yeah, so I feel like not every kids can afford that. So like they don't eat it very often, but some do eat it. And you know, junk food, they're delicious. Of course, kids love it, right?
Yeah.
The fried chicken, the burger, they just love it.
Yeah, I mean, as an educator myself, and I've noticed my problem children are usually the ones that show up drinking Pepsi, and they're the ones that
Mm.
show up eating chips, and junk food,
Hmm.
and they can't pay attention to my class. I wonder
Mm.
why. I wonder if there's studies about this that prove that it causes ADD and all those other issues, but no, that's a conspiracy
Mm.
theory. But yeah, you're right. And like most of my students are all well behaved. My students
Mm.
are mostly all wealthy.
Mm. Yeah,
My school's
that makes
private,
sense.
and
Yeah.
so I get some poor kids. I've heard there's um, government subsidized classes, but I imagine the reason why they're getting the subsidized classes is because they're really intelligent. And so the government's trying to push
Mm.
them up into some better schools because they all seem to be really, really intelligent, but their computer
Hmm.
equipment's not that good. And
Mm.
that's just kind of what it is. But I'm
But
getting the
that's really
perspective
rare. That's really rare.
of what government providing.
The yeah, yeah. I haven't heard anything like it's not that popular. I don't know anybody, any kids that gets like a subsidized by the government.
Okay, maybe my teachers are wrong then. The teachers
No,
made it
I don't
sound like
think. I believe that's true. There might be some cases, but it's not like popular. It must be very rare.
okay.
Like the kids must
So
be super smart or
yeah,
something.
so I
Yeah,
you think I have a good analysis on that because I put two
yeah,
and two together. It's just like okay, this seems to be a weird system here, and it seems like
yeah.
all the kids with bad equipment, really bad internet, seem to be really really good anyways. And so
Hmm.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And so unless you
Yeah,
have anything else to add about coronavirus, we'll stop this right here. And
yeah. Oh, I have one question about masks. I know we talked about that. You said like it's really unnecessary to wear masks to
okay,
prevent yourself from the virus.
but you don't
But like
transfer.
I know a lot of people, and like even now when I stayed in Bangkok for 2 weeks, when I first arrived, I haven't seen any Westerners wearing masks. But today when I went out, I saw a lot. I saw a lot of them wearing masks. So this is something that is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and people when they get scared, they're gonna do whatever they think is gonna help them. I understand the benefits of the masks is obviously not prevention for yourself, but apparently it will stop transmission from you, and so it's more or
Mm-hmm.
less wearing it for other people. Um,
Right.
but most Americans don't know that, and they think they're protected, and so that's why always use the word placebo. And
Uh huh.
people like, oh, it makes them feel better. And in all honesty, if you feel safe and you're less stressed out, you're going to have a
Yeah.
better immune system anyways. And so, yeah, go ahead and do
Mhm.
it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I see a lot of arguments over hand sanitizer and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
there's been studies proven that hand sanitizer is a placebo as well because it's not proper hand washing. And so you got to
Yeah.
have real soap, real hot water, and the water's got to rinse off the germs.
Right.
Otherwise, you
Yeah.
kill it and it's still on you.
Yes.
And so that's also more placebo stuff. And you see people freaking out
Hmm.
about hand sanitizer. I'm thinking, why? I mean, you're not tripping, carry around a bar of soap in a plastic bag. And every time you see water, wash your hands. That's better
Hmm.
than that stupid plastic Purell you're putting on.
Yeah.
But again, people always, I can't stop them. They're lemmings. And so it's just what it is. Uh,
Yeah.
but you don't seem too worried about it. I mean, you're coming to the country, and so
Yeah.
I wonder how you view it when you get to San Francisco and then to Michigan at that. But
I yeah. I have no idea how will my like journey look like in the next 1 month. I don't know. I feel like I just got off got out of China, and then I'm running to another chaos. I don't know. It's like it's an interesting experience. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
I'm
hope
not too
people see
worried
this
about
video and they get put more at ease. Granted, you know, the real paranoid people don't care. They're still gonna watch the news and get all hyped up and freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why Americans, and this might even be the case for China. I don't know how journalists get paid in China, but in the United States, they spend a lot of time and resources making it sound as crazy as possible. That way they get
Mm-hmm.
clicks. They don't make any money from subscriptions anymore. Nobody buys magazines or newspapers. And so the only way they can make money is how many people click on the article or how many people
Yeah.
share it on Facebook. And so that's how they get paid.
Right.
So their title has to be catchy
Yeah.
because most people don't read the article. They just read the
Mm-hmm.
headline and then they press share and then they move on
Yeah.
from there. And
Right.
then when you read the article, it'll say, "Oh, this is opinion. We have no way to verify any of this," you know. But it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's already been shared, and so that's just kind of what it is.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Right.
so thank you for coming on. For something else you want to bring out, we will end this here.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
All right.